All right, time for some analysis on the situation as it stands. Pospisil is a Sudan affairs analyst and joins me now live from South Sudan. Good to see you. Sudanese army officials have been quoted as saying the RSF has never implemented a single one of the provisions of a short-term ceasefire. So tell me, to what extent do you think Sudan's army has a valid point in pulling out of the ceasefire agreement with the RSF?
I mean, they have a valid point, as the other side has a valid point. The ceasefire has never been fully implemented. But I mean, the main thing, it has to be said that the ceasefire has never had a chance to be any kind of solution or a really sustainable stop of the fighting. It was temporary. All the ideas that perhaps negotiators had of sustaining this into something more permanent or something like peace negotiations was elusive from the beginning and would never have happened. So both sides used essentially the ceasefire to regroup, I mean, the Sudanese army started to call reservists in, RSF also regrouped. So when there was a fighting stopping, then just for the parties to prepare for the next round of fighting, essentially.
So if you think that both sides have used the ceasefire in order to regroup, with how things stand on the ground right now, who do you think has the upper hand?
I mean, we just don't know. Both sides basically say they have their upper ground. In media, it's more like that we read that the SAF has the better chance. When I speak to people on the ground, they basically say whole of Khartoum is full of RSF fighters, and it appears they are basically everywhere. So we just don't know who is really dominating. And since both sides are essentially keen to continue fighting, I think they both see themselves a chance to win.
Right, and certainly from the Sudanese army side, they think that the RSF is involved in some grave human rights violations, including looting. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why they have pulled out from the ceasefire agreement. But do you think, are there any other potential underlying factors driving the breakdown of the ceasefire agreement between the two warring generals? And if so, what are they?
I mean, essentially, the looting is definitely the case. The RSF needs all the resources. They are not based, they don't have like barracks like the SF has in Khartoum. So they just, for sustaining their operations, they just need bases, they need houses, they need food, they need all these things. And that's what they take by force. I said, like, what the underlying factors for breaking down this ceasefire, I think there was never a chance for it to get sustained in the end. So like this was basically as long as it probably goes. And both sides seem to think themselves now in a position to continue fighting. And this is essentially the breakdown of the ceasefire. As I said, there was no real factor why it should have been sustained, rather than why it has not broken down.
All right, Pospisil, thank you very much for talking to us here on TRT World. Really appreciate your taking out the time.